Hello, and we are starting with the second part of our lecture series on Anasimenes. The question that we should be starting is, why do contemporary thinkers value Anasimenes? And this would be our point of discussion. This is Dr. Ananya Barwa, Associate Professor in the Department of Philosophy, Hindu College. The first reason is about naturalism, which is the description rejected myths in favor of observable processes. The second is the proto-scientific thinking, where rarefaction and condensation are early physical models. Unified cosmos, where air connects human soul with universal substance like panpsychism or holism. Environmental relevance, emphasizing the subtle yet vital role of air, anticipates ecological awareness, and process metaphysics saw being as a state of becoming, not static existence, similar to process philosophers. So, what we have seen is, while Anaximenes lived in the 6th century BC, his philosophical ideas continued to resonate with and influence contemporary thinkers. Modern philosophers and scholars have revisited his work, appreciating its early contribution to naturalistic explanations and its relevance to ongoing discussions in philosophy and science. Now, we will quickly see some of the contemporary philosophers and scholars engaging with Anaximenes. Charles H. Kahan, a renowned classicist and philosopher, extensively studied early Greek philosophy. In his works, he explained the development of cosmological theories, including those of Anaximenes, highlighting their significance in the evolution of scientific thought. Jonathan Burns. In the Pre-Socratic Philosophers, Professor Burns analyzes Anaximenes' contributions, emphasizing his role in the transition from mythological to naturalistic explanations of the cosmos. He discusses how Anaximenes' concept of air as the fundamental substance influenced subsequent philosophical discourse. We also see James Warren in his studies on pre-Socratic philosophy. Warren delves into Anaximenes' theories, particularly his ideas on the transformation of substances through rarefaction and condensation. He considers Anaximenes' work as a foundational step in the development of physical cosmology. Now, Anaximenes' identification of air as the archaea has found renewed interest in contemporary discussions, especially in light of environmental and health concerns. Now, if we are to elucidate the environmental part of the philosophy here, we see that Anaximenes' emphasis on air as the sustaining element of life aligns with modern ecological awareness. His perspective encourages a view of the environment as an interconnected system where air quality is crucial for the well-being of all living beings. Health and well-being. The recent global health crises have underscored the importance of air in public health. Anaximenes' association of air with life and vitality resonates with contemporary understandings of respiratory health and the significance of clean air. Also, in the domain of philosophy of mind and consciousness, Anaximenes' linkage of air with the soul offers a material basis for consciousness, prompting discussions in modern philosophy regarding the relationship between physical substances and mental states. So we see that there are several philosophers from both Oriental and Occidental traditions whose ideas parallel or map onto Anaximenes' insights, especially around a single underlying substance of the cosmos, the vital role of breath or air in life and soul, the transformation of matter through dynamic processes. We can also talk about some of the Occidental philosophers like Heraclitus, who has been slightly younger than Anaximenes, but he focused on fire as the fundamental substance and change, as it is the essence of being. Anaximenes believed air becomes fire through rarefaction, both link transformation to the essence of existence. Further, if you talk about Spinoza, while far removed historically, Spinoza believed in one substance, which manifests as everything, which is natura. His monism and idea of immanence, God and nature, are the same, which mirrors Anaximenes' natural unity. So we see the parallel, air as a unified material substance and Spinoza's nature, unified substance explaining or expressing infinite modes. So we see that there are a lot of philosophers who have a strong connect with Anaximenes, be it the Occidental and the Oriental. Let us now pick up some of the Oriental thinkers here. When we talk about Professor Lao's, or we see from the Taoism 6th century BC, Lao's Tao De Jing speaks of the Tao or the way as the formless eternal principle that gives rise to all things. Similarly, in the Oriental traditions, when we talk about the key feature, the Shi feature, the breath energy that flows through all life maps conceptually onto Anaximenes' air as both cosmic and vital. We also see here a parallel as air as Archaê in Anaximenes as a life force, which they agree is something which both pervades, animates and unifies the universe. Now, from the Indian side, if you talk about our Vedic rishis or the Upanishadic thinkers, which is around India c. 800 to 500 BCE, we find that Vayu or air and wind and prana or breath and life force are central in the Upanishads. We also know that the Chandogya Upanishad, amongst the others, and other Upanishads as well, describe prana as that which sustains all beings and in the essence is the essence of universe. And this is where the parallels of Anaximenes say as our soul being air sustains us, so breath and air encompasses the whole world. The Upanishadic view where the prana is the soul and it pervades everything is very well a mirror where we see Anaximenes' air as Archaê can be mapped. Now it is also believed that whenever in our Indian tradition there is prana, there is life. The minute prana is off, the body dies. So prana or air or vayu is considered as vital for our sustenance. Now again from the Eastern tradition, we see the philosopher Zhuangzi of the 4th century BCE. Now Zhuangzi Zhao, a Taoist philosopher, had emphasized the interconnectedness of all things, the subtlety of air and impermanence of form. Zhuangzi had also seen life and transformation as cyclical, not fixed. So the parallel that can be mapped between Zhuangzi or Zhuangzhou's philosophy with Anaximenes is that, like Anaximenes' idea of air transforming into other elements, Zhuangzi emphasized fluid identity and transformation through the Tao. We must also understand at this point here that there are also certain contemporary philosophers who have talked highly about Anaximenes' air, and they definitely endorse him, be it Professor Charles H. Kahn, Professor Jonathan Burns, and there is also Geoffrey Lyot who talks about the history of science and medicine, and Lyot examines the methodologies of early Greek thinkers. He acknowledges this Anaximenes' approach to understanding natural phenomena through observable processes, marking a shift towards empirical inquiry. We had also seen how Professor James Warren, in his studies on pre-Socratic philosopher, he delves into Anaximenes' theories. We must now understand that Anaximenes is definitely makes a big mark in our current times, especially post-COVID-19, for the environmental relevance and the process of metaphysics talks immense when he said that with the air being okay, everything around is okay, air being disturbed, our system too is disturbed. So whatever we are from inside is basically because we are mirroring the outside, and air pervades everywhere, so the air inside us also will pervade the same. So quickly again, we understood that air stood out amongst the other elements for Anaximenes because he thought his teacher Anaximenes' Epeiron was a little too abstract for a layman. When Anaximenes in his own way did stand out by stating that the Epeiron, or the final be all and end all, has to be something which is infinite and boundless, the common man was not really in a position to grasp it because it was too abstract for them. So what Anaximenes did was he reinstated, or he reinstalled the materialistic dimension for what the early Greek philosophers were known as, and he brought air back to the scenario. And he said that let's not make our philosophical insights too abstract, but let's make it concrete and let air be the chosen one. And rightly so, for air has the qualities of pervasiveness, and pervasiveness, as we understand by now, is something which is present everywhere. It is invisible, yet it is extremely essential. And pervasiveness, as I had just about mentioned a little while ago, it's about the air just not in the outside world or the outside environment, but also in the internal environment, in our inside body. Further, air has also been considered as the link between breath and soul. So they have said that with every prana, or with every breath, there is life and there is soul, which is echoed in our Indian prana system. So there are these commentaries that though Anaximenes may not have been directly influenced by Indian philosophers or Indian philosophy, but metaphysically, conceptually, that he chose air, as the Archaê speaks volume about its mirroring with our Indian philosophy, the form of prana. We also note that the transformative power that air has, and Anaximenes has actually talked about these when he said that air could become fire, water or earth. And this is very interesting, because by making air transformative, what he gave was, he gave the all-in-all power to air, and thus he in a way brought in or made an inclusive effort to bring in the Panchabhuta via the rarefaction process. He made it fire, and via the condensation process he made air water also. And he also said that via the rarefaction process the stars above, the galaxy above comes up, and via the condensation process the earth below is comes up. So he talks about the galaxy above and the earth below. So air has that transformation property, or the transformative power, to transform via rarefaction vis-a-vis fire into galaxies and stars and all the celestial body. And again air via the transformative power, via the process of condensation, can condense into water or moisture or earth. And this makes Anaximenes stand out, for though he chose air as the Archaê, he also brought in fire, he also brought in water, and definitely he did bring in earth. We also see that the feature of balance of abstract and physical, Anaximenes felt that something which is Archaê cannot be too abstract. So neither something which was too subtle like ether, nor too rigid like earth. So air was that connect, or that physical module which could act as the bridge between the physical world or the earth and the ethereal world, the Akasha. So air was rightly thought to be the bridge or to be the connect between spirit and matter. So we see that Anaximenes had also said that air connects the intangible or the soul with the tangible body or the world, and this very feature of Anaximenes is striking, for not many talks about the intangible world, though they talk about the intangible world. So the connect between tangible and intangible again speaks volume to why and how Anaximenes stands out. Now, if we talk from the tradition of our contemporary times, we have seen how post COVID-19 the resurgence in our practices like pranayama, yoga, meditation, breath work became such crucial tools that every mental health specialist, whenever we talk about emotional and mental well-being, these are the few exercises or practices that are asked to be done. And then when we address, we see that what is pranayama? Pranayama is nothing but the control of the inhalation and the exhalation of the air through our nostrils. Similarly, what is mindful breathing? Mindful breathing again is considered extremely therapeutic for people who have an anxious mind. It is said that whenever one gets deviated from one's present scenario, the quickest way to get back to the present context is to start counting one's breath. So breath acts as the mindful reminder to be present in the present. These are all the practices which have been in various countries, definitely like in India, for eons now, and Anaximenes with his air as the Archaê only gave a metabolic booster to these practices. We also see that Anaximenes' view that air is the base of all things. It mirrors the environmental philosophy, for we must understand that whatever we do with the air, we do to the cosmos and ourselves. So if we are thinking that I can pollute the air, it doesn't really matter, I am basically polluting my own internal system. For Anaximenes made us all realize that we are not disconnected from environment, we are part of environment, and this is where the environmental concerns chips in for Anaximenes. By bringing in air, he says that it is high time we need to replace our ego with eco, or the ecosystem. So when we consider the ecosystem as the pivotal or the central point, automatically the ego will take a back seat. So for various reasons like these, Anaximenes is definitely considered to be the icon, and especially, as I had mentioned, for people who post-COVID, air becomes the talk of the town. So air quality being good, public became more conscious, the health and ecological issue of air became the leading topic to broader discussions about sustainability and breathability. So we can at the most say that Anaximenes' idea that life is bound by air not only is limited to just philosophical domain. It is very clearly seen in the medical domains, in the ecological domain, in the existential significance. Let us break down a little bit on this. Now, how is the air domain connected with the medical domain? Now, for any definition on air, if we ask any layman or any student of the school that how do you define air, he will say that air is nothing but H2O. So hydrogen and oxygen, and air is considered as O2 or oxygen because with water and oxygen the combination of water comes up. So medically, oxygen or O2 is considered as air, and this should make us all realize that Anaximenes was well aware that medically or clinically O2 or oxygen was considered the booster for our any medical practices. Now, ecological practices, we again see that there has been a lot of pollution, be it the air pollution, be it the other environmental pollutions, the toxicities that are laid out. And Anaximenes was aware that too much of air pollution, when the balance goes haywire, it will start affecting human beings. And did actually happen with our COVID-19. We are all very familiar about the narratives of COVID-19. Now, last but not the least, when we talk about the existential significance, how is our existential significance dependent on air? Let us understand that for existentialism, existence precedes essence. That is, more than being good and being nice and being holy, one would be talking about the existential crisis. So definitely, if I am alive, it is only because I am breathing. I am taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. And if this very existential significance is blocked, or I am not able to get enough of oxygen, my very existence will cease. So Anaximenes had very rightly, from the medical, from the ecological, or from the existential significance, had made air as the candidate for Archaê. Also, we must remember that all the traditions, be it the Eastern traditions, the Oriental or the Occidental, have had equated air with breath, or with this life-sustaining force, with unity and with transformation. So all the philosophers across globally have suggested a universal human intuition about the nature of existence and vitality. And it is rightly said that if there is less of oxygen in our mind, in our brain, there could be a state where we would not be mentally healthy. So the intake of oxygen or the intake of air has a direct influence in environment, because where do we get oxygen? Where do we get air? We get oxygen from trees, we get oxygen from the water bodies. So the awareness that the more we plant trees, the more we chip in to stop deforestation, the more we chip in to preserve the water bodies, it is essentially better not for the environment per se, but definitely for our own well-being. And this shift of mind is essential, especially to instill amongst youngsters, and they must be made aware that O2 or oxygen, if that is there, freshly supplied, freshly available, our process of thinking or our process of clear thinking becomes all the more crisp. And for these, efforts have to be made. In a way, it is also said that whatever Anaximenes had thought about air being precious and it ought to be preserved has in some ways come true. So Anaximenes' Archaê as air is only a subtle reminder to all of us that we need to do our bit. We need to be more environment friendly. We need to be planting trees. We need to be careful with our water bodies and do everything that is possible to sustain it. So yes, air is thus both invisible and visible. Air is always around us, and this makes air the best natural candidate to be Archaê. It bridges the gap between the visible and the invisible. It is also considered to be the essence of human soul or prana. And last but not the least, air has also been considered to be a very steep progress or improvement from Anaximenes' Epeiron, which was considered abstract and undefined. And Anaximenes, by bringing in air, brought philosophy back to the physical world, choosing definitely a more visible, measurable and experiential element. Thank you so much.